I really believe in getting customers in as soon as possible. If you can validate something as fast as possible or not and go, that was a bad idea, or that didn't work, or they didn't like that, or I need to iterate on that as quick as possible, then you are going to save so much money and time and pain. So in our studio, we bring people in every Friday night and just be like, try this thing. What do you think? Try that. What do you think? And you watch them play and you go, oh, that's interesting. Did you see how they like that? I didn't think they'd like that. Did you notice no one cared about the graphics? I know. I thought they'd hate that. That is just so key to getting quickly to a base or MVP of a product when it comes to gaming.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ways to Wealth. Today I am joined by Jessica Manins. Jessica, why don't you give us the TLDR on who you are and kind of what you're up to?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I am the co-founder and CEO of Beyond. We are a virtual world building company. We make VR and AR games and experiences. Been doing that for the last decade, and I guess we're just all about finding the fun and bringing the fun to people.
Yeah, cool. So you've been working on Beyond for the last decade.
I have, yeah.
And
Prior to that, I was in a few other startups and did a few things myself.
mm,
But yeah, the
mhm.
last decade very much focused on virtual reality, joyful experiences.
Yeah, cool. And I guess, being, and did you founded the company as well?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, myself and Anton Mitchell founded it. We met at Projector, which was my research and development hub that I developed in Wellington, focused on VR and AR innovations. It was a space for people to
Mm,
kind of co-work and learn
yeah.
about the technology and come together kind of in a collaborative space, and met him, and we founded Beyond.
Yeah, awesome. Did you always see yourself founding a company to do AR and VR? Like when did that kind of, I guess, you guys being in it already a decade, you kind of were ahead of the game in a sense, especially from an adoption perspective, especially 5 years ago, 6 years ago, um, where that kind of curve steepened a little bit more
Yeah.
of adoption. Like, did you always, yeah, when did you start getting an interest in the space?
Well, I come from actually a theatre and film background, so I
Hmm.
was always in entertainment. So
Hmm.
I was always an entrepreneur and always doing things in that space, whether it was making my own shows. I used to play a fairy, so I used to go out and do birthday parties from like a very young age. Going out and being entrepreneurial, and I love entertainment. And then I had an opportunity to work at a company, Star Now, another New Zealand success story, where I worked there for 8 years, and left as a chief customer officer to IC to Cameron Malhop there, and learned a lot about scaling a business, and being global and waitlist technology, and a lot of interest in tech and SaaS business and how that all worked. And so I guess I started to understand and love both entertainment and technology. And that really has shaped a lot of what I've done in the future, including, my interest in virtual and augmented reality, where I actually, wasn't like, this is my big grand plan from when I was young, but always experimenting and trying new things. And yeah, 10 years ago, I actually met the team at 8i. I don't know if you've come across them or talked to any of them, but
Yep.
again, another very entrepreneurial Wellington originally based company working in the volumetric VR space. And it was through them and a woman, Tony Moyes, who was leading one of the leadership team there, that I kind of gained this interest in VR and went, oh, this, I can see how this technology is going to grow. And yes, you're right. It was very early, it's been around for much longer than 10 years,
Yeah.
many, many years. But it was getting to that point of, oh, I think there's going to be an opportunity here for many of us to use this technology. And, smart glasses really were what kind of captured us all, whether it was Google
Right.
glasses or, or thinking about how augmented reality is going to change our world, and how computer vision, together with that, is going to have a huge impact, which of course we're seeing now with like Ray-Bans and many other glasses
Yep.
coming out. So it was that really formed my interest around it, and made me curious, which is kind of how we
Mhm.
created Beyond. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So how quickly did you know that like the most obvious way to apply it was gaming and interactive experiences? specifically probably more the gaming, making it fun, making it accessible. Like, was that a deliberate decision?
Yeah, it was. Although, to be honest, we started out doing a lot of contract work, so services work, because, like many startups, if you don't have funding, you've got to self-fund it yourself, right? So
Yeah.
you've got to be scrappy and lean, and therefore, services workers can be a really great way to
Yeah, for sure.
build up capability. And so for me, it was like, how do I build capability and those around me and my team? And so we did a lot of different stuff that wasn't games, might have
Yeah.
been marketing or promotions, but all of it has fun at the heart of it, and creating
Mm.
something that makes people want to come back or talk about it.
Yep.
And so we did all sorts of things. We did things from one of the first road, 360 driving. It's called Drive VR. We built that. So you learn to drive in virtual reality. Again, like we're talking 8 years ago, so we were very much on the bleeding edge of technology and what was happening in New Zealand. I helped create the VR AR Association, so bringing everyone together as part of an association to have a voice and learn. But of course, I love games and playing. I'm not like a traditional hardcore, PC gamer. More
Yep.
casual and real life games. And theatre is a game in many ways. And I love theatrical experiences. And 360 video at the same time as kind of VR was it was having its growth. 360 video kind of was too, right? And like all these new cameras are coming out. And to me, that almost had a theatrical or, a theatre feel to it. It's like you're being filmed all around you, just like in a theatre. You have to think about every way in which you can look and perform. And so I naturally kind of understood how that would work and started making 360 films. I made one of the first 48-hour 360 films, which was really cool, and just experimenting. But in terms of where we went with Beyond, the aim was always to create our own product and gamification. All of that is very well known. So it's applying those known theories, into virtual reality and figuring out how it works in that way. And with VR, it's almost like going to an arcade and playing an arcade game, right? It's very physical, right? It's not like you want to just push buttons, and you're on a keyboard. You want to grab things and touch things. So if you think about going to Time Zone or wherever and playing one of those games, or what a whack-a-mole or whatever, those games translate really well into virtual reality. And I know that kind of game, those kind of games, and those kind of experience, those real-world experiences. So I wanted to bring some of that into what we were doing at Beyond. And it was actually a conference I attended with Anton called Augmented World Expo, which is over in the USA. And that's one of the biggest ones of VR and AR, or mixed reality, or XR, there's many terms that people like to use. And they have a place in there called the Playground. And the Playground is this great place where you can bring new ideas and experiences and test them out. You can validate them, and you can experiment and have thousands of attendees come through outside of the traditional conference where they have their talks,
Yep.
the likes of
Yep.
Meta and HTC and Microsoft, whoever are going to be there. And we tried an experience which was 4 players with a backpack PC on,
Yeah.
in a headset, and you went through it. Had big OptiTrack cameras as well, so all around you, so tracking where you
Right.
were. And you went in and you had to collaborate to get through laser beams, and you had to like jump over sharks, and it was very kind of like escape roomy type experience.
Yeah.
And I love escape rooms too. They're
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. Do you like escape rooms? Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
I
good.
do like
And so it was a bit like that. And I think that was one of those aha moments you have, when you're working in a space where I went, man, there's nothing I've ever done like this. This is like unbelievably fun, so collaborative, so fun, nothing overly complex about it, like just a simple experience. But because you're doing it with friends, there's just so much laughter and silliness, and I think that's so key to entertainment, a lot of entertainment. And we went, well, how do we do something like this? But how do we do it so it doesn't cost $300,000 to set up?
Yeah.
Because these things are expensive, and
I,
heavy, heavy PC.
yeah, I spent some time. when I was in Melbourne in 2017 playing. There's a game out, you'll know them. I can't remember. Zero Gravity, right? I think
Yeah.
that might be the name. Uh,
Yeah. I know
they
who you're
have like a Halo type shooter
Yeah.
with the backpack
Yeah.
PCs.
Big warehouse space.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's quite cool.
Yeah, really cool. But it's so expensive to set up. And we thought,
Yeah, I
well,
imagine.
yeah, and at that time, what was Oculus, and then Facebook purchased them, who
Yeah,
then became Meta.
yeah.
They had their new wireless headsets coming out. So
Okay.
after kind of the DK1, and then they had their Quest 1, which meant that you didn't have to have a backpack PC. So we kind of thought, look, hey, there's an opportunity in that market to grab those headsets,
Yeah,
build some kind of collaborative, fun experience, and
yeah.
not have to have OptiTracks, and maybe we could sell it. And so the cost to set up would be around $30,000, not
Right.
300,000, and so that's how we got started, and we raised some capital and made our first game, Oddball, which, essentially did that, a silly fun game where it's competitive. You're in a big warehouse. You shoot each other with these sticky balls or
Okay.
fart bombs, or turn each other into giant pineapples. You play in like, silly avatars, and yeah, and then you're in a big warehouse, but using the wireless
Right.
headsets.
Okay. Yeah. So like a lighter weight version of like a zero gravity, especially from a gameplay perspective as well, and maybe a setup perspective.
Yeah, so absolutely, like the cost to build the games were, you know, so much cheaper, and then so much cheaper to set up. So yeah, and so targeting like the family entertainment spaces in the US in particular, and
Okay.
arcades. So looking at that, yeah.
Yeah. And so you built a game, and how does so you kind of self-published it and you used some capital that you raised to basically build the game itself?
Yeah, and the
Um,
technology around it, the tracking
yeah.
system, kind of like the system to control it, so the command and control system. So there was IP kind of around all of those different areas, and we were kind of packaging it up and selling it into arcades, so they could license it from us. So that was our
Okay.
model, and yeah, we had some early investment from Rod Drury, who I knew, and had been, kind of curious about VR for a while, and kind of
Mm,
gave us a shot,
mhm.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then and built that. We had a lot of success with it, except we did launch in the US in in February 2020. So 3 weeks after launching in LA, all of these contracts to scale across the USA, and then suddenly every building was shut down because we were hit by COVID. So that business model very much was disrupted and
Right.
put on hold. But we did continue it in New Zealand for quite some time. So we had an arcade and a studio here in Wellington. We were in a couple of other spaces as well, and anyone from kind of 10-year-olds to 80-year-olds would play the game. So it was a lot of
Mm,
fun. Always got great reviews and laughter, and it got people moving. It was really like, it was healthy entertainment,
mhm,
healthy gaming, which was really
mhm.
cool as well. So a lot of repeat players.
Right. And so that was like a very much a game though that was an investment to whoever was hosting it.
Yeah,
Do
so
you guys
exactly.
have
So arcades. So the model for these kind of games, if you think about, a time zone as but in the US they have a lot bigger ones, an Archie
yeah,
Brothers, or yeah,
yeah,
zero latency type ones. They
right.
can license your game, and then you earn a license fee from them playing your
Like some
games.
sort
And
of some sort of royalty on
yeah,
them.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and then I mean that was our first thing we've done. We've done many different things since then. Our latest game was
Mm.
Runaways. That's on the Apple Vision Pro. So that was an endless
Okay, so
runner.
that's a home entertainment kind of
That's home.
vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So we
Yeah,
went all the way from location, and then realizing, hey, I mean, when the world shuts down,
yeah,
we're at home. So that again, you got to be fluid, and you got to be able to move and be pivot where you needed, when you're an
yeah,
entrepreneur.
for sure. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know that like, kind of different, I guess different tools of the space have also experimented with building their own games and stuff. Like I think of like something like a Skills, which is very different, obviously, to what you guys are doing. But they were building kind of SDKs for engagement, but then they also started developing their own kind of games
Hmm.
as well. Do you think you guys are going to be focused? well, I mean, I guess what's the kind of strategy for you guys? Do you think it's more focused on home entertainment going forward, or is it basically a hybrid approach?
It has been a hybrid approach, but to be honest, we've actually come back to locations recently and in a
Right.
completely different area from arcade spaces and family entertainment centres, and we're actually working with high schools. So we actually have a program called Game Fit, and Game
Mm,
Fit takes all of our knowledge around virtual reality gaming and movement and just how amazing it is that you can play a game and get fit at the same time.
mm,
Think of the future of like the old school Wii, and like, we are doing the
mm.
future of Wii, and we bring games that get you fit, including some New Zealand based games. We work with the Les Mills team, which is amazing, and we have a
Mm.
couple of their experiences that we have in our program. And
Right.
we bring them into high schools as part of their health and fitness program. So we did a collaboration with Sport Waikato, an incredible team up there, Leanne Batts, who's very innovative in kind of sport and technology, and
Yep.
was looking for ways like, how do we meet young people where they are? How do we bring
Mm.
technology to them? And how do we get people doing something that they want to do, but is also good and healthy for them. And
Yeah.
so that's our focus at the moment. So we just did a pilot and with the Waikato region, so we're in 5 high schools up there, and now we're just looking at rolling it out nationally to different high schools around the region. So we're just in the process of showing people, the opportunities, the data around it. We've done all of the studies, how much cardio you get out of it, how good it is for you, what games they like.
Mm.
So a little bit different. We're always doing
Yeah,
something a
cool.
bit different.
Yeah, cool. And I guess is that's adjusted the business model for you guys? Does that mean that your business model is a little bit kind of service revenue and then kind of core revenue?
Yeah, yeah,
And is
that's
that how
right.
you?
So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we've got it means that we have that. We've got some recurring revenue coming in from that side, and then we still have a lot of our own IP that we have. Some of them is published, some of it is sitting there either waiting for a
Yeah.
publisher or needs further development. So yeah, we kind of
Yeah.
have those two sides of the business.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm.
And that's kind of like, I guess the idea is to utilize that kind of larger, more, I guess, obvious or forecastable revenue. I know that, published like IP revenue can be forecasted too, but in the space you're in, of course, you are making bets on different games,
Mm.
and one of them will probably pay for a lot of
Yeah,
the other development. It's
yeah,
one of those things where you're
absolutely.
trying to basically put out almost like, again, like theatre or art or music, you're trying to put out new pieces of work while also making sure that it's viable from a kind of commercial perspective.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, we've had games which have exactly done that. They've done really well, and they've been able to finance the next one. And we've
Hmm.
had some of those that have not done well, in terms of financially. And often there's a couple of reasons. Maybe it's a new platform, or maybe you're just a little bit off the mark, and you
Yeah.
haven't built with your community, and you haven't quite understood,
Mhm.
what people want.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a really important thing. So, yeah, having those different revenue streams is a great thing for us in our company.
Do you feel like you've now been around long enough where that's like quite well established and you feel like a sense of uh, relief and kind of certainty around that, or do you think it's still an evolving space because of where AR and VR is, etc.?
Yeah, it is an evolving space, but I would say it's more about the reliance we have on some of the technology providers and those platforms that we're having to use. So take Meta, for example. We have been like in the process of building games for them, specifically knowing who their audience is, what they want, and then Meta will completely change what they do and how they work. So they will. So for example, recently they have decided that they're not going to fund certain games anymore, and certain streams, but they will focus on completely their own ecosystem called Horizon Worlds, which is kind of like Roblox. And now instead of say targeting anyone over the
Right.
18, they're now going after the 14, 13, 14 year olds. And they want you to build those kind of Roblox style games within their actual game system,
Yeah.
within their store. So for those of us and many of my friends, unfortunately, who might have been spending 4 years building this epic, this epic, AA game for, that's an adventure, or, whatever it might be, something that's going to be, take hours to play, but it's going to be really incredible. That's not necessarily where the market is anymore. And if that changes halfway through building a game, that can completely change what the outcomes are for you. So a lot of people are, say if you're doing that, you might be more moving to PC VR or back to PC VR, where those players are. So sometimes those external factors can really impact you as a game company. And I know there's other game companies out there who have been diving back into VR in the last few years, like Pickpock, for example. But I can see, again, sometimes it's like going back to what you really know. If mobile is where you're at, or PCs where it's at, then it's kind of a bit more stable than what virtual reality is, and it can change and be very fluid.
Well, and also, I guess, is it applicable to you guys that, cross play has become such a common place in gaming, with everything kind of being multi-platform and cross-compatible? Is that helping?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does, of course, add on complexity and cost, so that has to be factored in. But when we made Oddball, we actually won the Spark 5G Starter Fund that they were hosting. It was a few years back, and that was through our mobile application that allowed players to be on mobile and play into our location-based VR game. So they were actually, you were running around like in the real world in VR. And the other players were in these little kind of like jets above you, and they were the mobile players, and so they were in at the same time. So it was, it was cool. It was quite tricky, technology wise, and we never ended up scaling that. But that kind of thing is definitely something where you go, right, well, how do I get to as many people as possible and not limit it by saying, well, you have to have a headset. That's making your market so much smaller.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really good insight. When you guys have managed to kind of stick it out for a long time, what percentage of your journey did you rely on external funding? I know you said you got Rod Drury to back you guys. Was it just that check, or did you guys have a few attempts at the well, I guess?
Yeah, we had a couple of attempts. In terms of percentage, roughly I could say maybe 50-50. We did another round with the Angels, and we also had NZGCP, K1W1, the team there. They're fantastic, Damien and Robbie. So we had a small round that they came in on, and then we had some good success with a game and experience that we built. We actually paid dividends back to our investors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is
not to buy back shares, just as a distribution.
Yeah, just as a
Interesting.
distribution. Yeah, which was really cool. And I think, a few of our investors said we were one of the first companies to have ever done that, especially to some of the angels. So that was a really lovely feeling. And I think that's just something that gives you a lot of joy when you build a company, because, raising funds puts a lot of, it's such a great way to be able to scale, and when you need that money to be able to go for what you need to do. But it does put a bit of weight on you as a founder, when you take capital from others, and you really are taking it because you believe in what you're doing, and that you're going to be able to pay them back 10 times, 30 times, whatever that is. So paying dividends was really cool. And then we did... and then we did a small internal round for our Apple Vision Pro game as well.
Right.
Yeah. So
and that was just diluting the main company always?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So you basically just did a small round to basically say, hey, we want to invest some money in this new game on this new platform.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure cash flow is in a good spot, because obviously that's the biggest.
That's right.
One of the biggest
And
startups face. A little bit laggy.
Sorry, you just cut out a little bit there, Tilly. Yeah, a bit laggy.
I think it just went a bit laggy, but it's okay. It'll be fine post production. Cool. So, nice. And how long ago was that you did that small round?
That was like two years ago, or just over 2 years ago, actually.
Okay, cool. Nice. Yeah. Do you think you guys will go for more funding in the future? And do you have any projects that you're currently building out at the moment that aren't live yet?
Well, I don't think we will look to raise any more capital. We are. We've got, like I said, a bunch of IP that we are looking to build out, but there's other ways, of course, to do that, and being able to self-fund it or fund it through publishers or fund it
Yep.
through our other projects is more what I'm keen to do.
Hmm.
And so yeah, but at the moment, GameFit is really our big one that we're working on. We do have a few other little ideas, of course. We've always
Yeah.
got ideas. We're ideas people. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys structure those ideas and just have it giving them a little bit of space and a little bit of air to breathe when you're
Yeah.
busy and you're worried about cash flow? You're not necessarily worried, but
Yeah.
every business owner and founder is conscious of, how's the health of the business? How do you
Mm.
make sure you can continue to exist? So how do you find the space to give the team that kind of ability to kind of think more
Yeah.
creatively that, on projects that are nascent?
We have something. Well, we do a lot of game jams, internal game jams, and that really
Yep.
helps us. And we say find the fun. Can we within this set shorter period find the fun in an experience, and where everybody has an opportunity to say, "Oh, I've been wanting to work on this," and so we give people that freedom to go, "Yep, cool. Here's a week. Come together in little internal teams, and we muck around and we play, and then we build it out, and we just build that MVP." And go, is it fun? Is it not? Or what bits
Mm,
of that might be fun that we could take, or is there a bit from your
mm,
game and my game that we could merge together and that would make something really special? And it's really
yep.
important to keep that creativity going. We're a creative company, so
Yeah,
play
cool.
is important and space is important. And then that's often where the magic comes from.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Um, so, where to go from here? This will be cut, obviously.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. Um, so, so with your new main project, how long until you think you're going to be actually kind of finding out, how it doesn't scale, I guess? Like, what's been the lead time, and then, like, when do you think you'll actually kind of have it kind of fully released or, relatively broadly released?
Well, we've got some targets for this year, which we're hoping to kind of lock in a certain amount of customers that we can kind of bring to bring to market in the new year. So specific schools that we're trying to work with.
Okay, so a customer in this instance is a school.
A
Yeah,
customer is a
yeah,
school, yeah, in this
yeah. Yeah,
instance.
right.
We do work with sports bodies as well, and then
Hmm.
and then we have within a few months' time, we should have kind of those customers or not, and if we've been able to
Mm,
like prove that we can go from pilot, we've got the data, we know what's working, we're optimizing right now, so we're getting new games for the program, we're looking at some of our IP and how that folds in. We're building a brand around it, and yeah, and then early next year when school starts up, we should be able to get that going. And then from there, again, it's like that. Those first few customers, right? You're learning, you're gathering the intel, you're getting your recommendations, and that's when we can start to go right. How do we scale this, and what does scaling look like? New Zealand as our first market, but obviously have our eyes on international markets. Probably starting with Australia after that, and then potentially the UK. Um, and then broadening what we do within game fit. So all our games
mm,
at the moment, although they're focused on rangatahi young people within New
mhm,
Zealand schools, there's many opportunities outside of that
mhm,
for getting fit and having fun in these games.
mhm,
Whether it's
mhm.
retirement villages, and we've done some projects recently
Yeah,
with retirement villages, and we know that we have an aging population specifically here, so a really big market. So we're looking at that, and then sports centres. There's all sorts of opportunities to go broader with what we're doing, and yeah, evolve this first program into other ones.
mm,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's got some big
That's
it's
cool.
got big potential if it goes well and we can tap into it.
Yeah, and I guess like for you, it's about just continuing to build new product and new IP and test it and iterate, and that's kind of how the magic's made in the gaming industry right? In many
Yeah,
ways. So
that's it.
I guess, you've been at it 10 years. What does success look like for you personally? If you think I've been doing this for 15 years now, I've been doing Beyond Fun for 15 years. And like, what, yeah, do you have an idea of like where you'd want to be 5 years from now? Now, after learning so much over a decade?
Um, it's really hard because success looks like so many different things, you know. For me, seeing young people embrace VR and playing it with GameFit is incredible, like
Mm,
incredibly rewarding, is incredible
yeah.
success. You know, it's not always about wealth, but being
Yeah,
able
I
to,
definitely wasn't thinking
yeah.
necessarily
Oh no,
specifically about wealth for sure,
yeah,
but
but it is. But being able to contribute to the economy is hugely important for me. I have
mm,
loved the times that I've been able to pay a dividend, when I've been able to pay competitive wages to my staff,
hmm
offer
hmm
ESOPs to them. All of
yep,
that to me is success. When I can do that, when I
hmm
can grow people, add to our capability here, so that we know that we are, together as an industry, we are growing, we're expanding. All of that is success, and I love that. What the future looks like. I mean, I'm so curious about AI and the intersection between that and personalized experiences and
yeah,
entertainment, and how that feeds into some of the stuff we're doing. I love location based entertainment. I always have. That's why we started
hmm
with Oddball.
yeah,
I've got some ideas that I'd like to experiment that aren't
hmm
necessarily in virtual reality.
right,
So there's some things that I'm learning in the background, and my co-founder Anton, who's hugely um, intrigued by AI and always making some kind of a video of some sort or some experience,
right,
or
yeah,
projection based stuff is really interesting. So there's a bunch of things there that for me, if I can build some interesting new things in that space, that'll be success.
mm,
Love
what,
to be able to scale some of our products. I'd love to see GameFit scale internationally, and have that mission, I guess, that I started with, which was like bring these fun, joyful experiences that bring people together, that are good for you, that are healthy, making
yeah,
gaming healthy and fun and collaborative. That's where I'm at, and if I can keep doing that, then and keep
yeah,
employing people and keep paying
yeah,
my
for
bills, and
sure, yeah,
and reward my investors for taking a risk and being bold, and
totally,
believing in me when I'm at the bleeding edge and sometimes bleeding,
yeah, for
literally,
sure.
to say thank you to those people as well.
For sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. I respect that. Hey, like you've kind of hustled your way to survival though, right? Like in a very uncertain space.
Yeah.
And I imagine that you've used some really creative ways of basically commercializing and keeping the game going, to keep building IP. Like, do you have any kind of like hacks or things you've learned, maybe like someone that's kind of exploring something similar to you, where they're trying to build something that might be in an emerging space, or it might be in the something like a game industry where you need to build it, you invest in it, you release it, and then you find out how the market takes to it,
Yeah.
and then you iterate. So were there any hacks or interesting ways you found that you've been able to navigate this uncertain kind of environment, like yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really believe in getting customers in as soon as possible. Like, that's probably, it's not a hack, but it's like if you
Mm,
can validate something as fast as possible or not, and go, that was a bad idea, or that didn't work, or they didn't
yeah,
like that, or I need to iterate on that as
yeah,
quick as possible, then you're going to save so much money and time and pain. But if you're testing something, so in our studio, we bring people in every Friday night and just be like, try this thing. What do you think? Try that. What do you think? And you watch them play, and you go, oh, that's interesting. Did you see how they like
mm,
that? I didn't think they'd like that. Did you notice no one cared about the graphics? I know. I thought they'd hate that. Like, really, like, that is just so key to getting quickly to a base or MVP of a product when it comes to gaming, is doing
mm.
that, and then finding those champions and those community and those people that are like gung ho about what you're doing and will be there and to help you. You know, we had people when I was doing Runaways, and some streamers, who were like, loved what we were doing, and they're just like, we're here for you, we're going to support you in any way possible. And you're not paying them, they're just like passionate about your product. And that can be a great hack, is like finding those people they become an extension of your team, and it's so cool. So yeah, I would say that, and then just being wildly curious. Go and play, try things. Don't be afraid of competition and competitors. Go learn from them. Do everything, look at everything, and just think, I like that, but I could take a bit of that. I could take a bit of that. I could take a bit of that. Don't be afraid to like take little sprinkles of things. It's fine. We don't have to, everything has to be brand new. It can be tricky to always do new.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Because I obviously come from a gaming background. I played professionally in esports in a number of different titles. Built a gaming platform in New Zealand that we grew to 400,000 users.
Pretty cool, by the way. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, very, very much love gaming. Very much find as well that the gaming community have very high standards, right? But also innately early adopters. So you have this duality of the expectation of value is very high in gaming, because you also have Fortnite and League of Legends and these high quality games that have been around for years, and they are free, and they're built on a microtransaction model. And that's really kind of made gaming kind of different. But then Roblox has come along and changed everything again, right? And especially when you're talking about the game developer community, these young kids that are putting their creativity out into the world and developing games, and obviously commercializing it and selling out.
Amazing. Like the South Island guy, right? With the
guy with the garden. Oh, what's it called? Yeah, that one. Not 99 Nights, but that one's the one that my kids are obsessed with at the moment.
Yes,
I really don't.
Obsessed with it for a while, but like everything, they're like, "Oh, I don't play that anymore, Mum. Don't even talk about that."
And they talk about the people that build them that have sold out, and then they say once they sell out, the games get bad. It's really interesting their perception on games once the and they obviously hear about these. Because it's very aspirational for them.
It is.
Like, I mean, I don't like the style that comes with Roblox and the games that are developed there, and the kind of, unfortunately, what the creators are creating. I think it's actually not great. I think it's pretty bad. I do
it's the same
try
with Horizon Worlds and Meta.
Yeah.
It's the same, right? I'm like, oh, it's not for me.
So I do force my son to play old school competitive games. That are really hard. Because I think that that's kind of missing, and it's not selling, right? It's really interesting, right? Because I'm like, oh well, I like this competitive game, right? Like Halo 3 or Gears of War, or some of these kind of old school competitive StarCraft 2, that was an absolute classic in the esports space. But how would that work now? And I even think about like World of Warcraft, right? If you think about World of Warcraft, like when it was at its best, which was probably in that kind of vanilla stage, like the first couple of expansions, it in a way was about 15 years too early to market. In hindsight. Of course. But, with the technology today, if the vanilla experience had have hit, I wonder if it would have even done well, because would it have been too hard? Because I'm like, oh, well, there's so many more people now with this great internet connectivity, all of this, but would people have hated it because it just took, it took 4 months to get to the highest level or something if you're a casual player? So
too hard. A lot of people just want quick and fast, and
what do you think? Yeah, well, what do you think about that as a as someone on that space of wanting to make gaming healthy, seeing where the trends are going, seeing what the ecosystem is providing you, right? Because at the end of the day, like, the industry is also pushing you towards crossplay. It's pushing you towards certain ecosystems. How do you deal with that? And I think the Roblox topic is a huge one for parents.
Oh, yeah.
Especially. So have you got any...
with that now. I know I'm not a big fan anymore where I was. Well, originally I was Minecraft. I was just like, Minecraft is amazing.
Yeah,
I loved playing Minecraft myself and seeing my son, play that and the creativity that came with it. So,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And then, with Roblox at the start, kind of felt it was similar in a way when I was playing in it with my son. Now a lot of it, I'm like, you're just trying to get someone to stay in there for as long as possible, to tap a thing a million times to get a trillion billion points to get a skin. Like I don't like that, and it's not, and it's not for me. And yeah, it's not a space that I'm keen to be working in or be a part of. Where a few years back I might have, and was interested. Personally, I'm a casual gamer, so I don't want to spend lots of time, and VR is a very casual gaming platform,
yeah.
right? You're not going to spend too long in it. You might say you're playing Half-Life Alex, or I don't know, a certain experience. Maybe you're going to put it on for an hour or two, and
Yeah, well, probably I think the most applicable would be probably like the simulators, so
yes,
the flying
yeah,
simulators, the
cooking
racing
ones and stuff.
simulators.
They're fun. Yeah, job simulator, totally,
Oh
totally.
man,
Yeah,
yeah, my
yeah.
daughter loves those.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean and they are still really popular in VR, but but what we're seeing is a lot of those games are just being replicated and copied and put into the Horizon type environment,
Right.
but at a much lower quality. And and that yeah, that isn't for me. And it is very open, it is very much a meetup, a hangout, a casual space, a social space, for people. And again, there's a lot of people that don't want to jump in and be yelled at by, 20, 14-year-old boys. Like, you know.
Oh man, it's so crazy.
So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. There's new headsets coming out. So I think that's going to be a positive thing. That's always a positive thing when there's competition, when there's more hardware coming out. The latest the latest Valve headset is looking amazing. So
Right.
very keen to try that. And then like I said before, kind of the smaller glasses stuff is going to be interesting for augmented
That's gonna be
reality.
very interesting for experiential,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Experiential and contextual,
totally.
both in the workplace, learning experiences,
Yeah,
so forth, right? So
absolutely.
that's obviously potentially your engine for kind of non-dilutionary R&D spend and revenues that can help you learn
Yeah,
and then apply that to your own IP and own games, which
absolutely.
is like, yeah, that's a really cool model. And
Yeah,
I think it's really great to kind of put it out there as, hey, like you don't need to just focus on, milestones in the future that require large sums of funding or anything like that. Like the true key to like success is typically like 1,000 small little steps.
mm,
Um, and sometimes you get these non-linear step function
yeah,
activities like a big funding round or a big partnership or a big influx of revenue through a deal.
mm,
But typically it's like, how do I go another step, another step, another step?
absolutely.
And I
Yeah,
love how you've kind of designed your business around and making sure you kind of get to that place. And I think it's really
yeah.
cool.
Thank you. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us and a little bit more about gaming. That's quite fun to talk, riff on gaming for a bit. I haven't done that in a while.
I know. I can see you
Um,
enjoyed this conversation. Me too.
yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessica. And yeah, hope everything goes well this year. And I hope to see you come on next year and talk to us about how the adoption's been in the schools. That'd be quite a fun episode.
Yeah, that would be cool
Awesome.
follow up. Awesome.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Charlie.
much. Cheers.
Cheers.